Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshuramlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Gurve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Stadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namah. Ananda lila maya vigrahaya himami divya chavi sundaraya tasmai maha prem raspradaya chaitanya chandraya namo namaste. He Krishna karuna sindhu dina bandhu jagadpate गोपेश गोपीकांत राधाकांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये भक्त्या विहीनाय अपराधलक्ष्यै क्षिप्तस्य कामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि तं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृंदे नमस्ते चरणारविंदम वृंदे नमस्ते चरणारविंदम. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. निखिल श्रुति मौली रतमाला दूती नीरादित पाद पंकजंतो हय मुक्त कुलयुपस्मानं परितस्तं हरिनाम संचयामि. श्री भजन रहस्य by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We completed text 6. We are starting text 7. Anarthas are of 4 kinds. This is described in the Amnya Sutra. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote Jaiv Dharma, and in Jaiv Dharma he described about the anarthas. This is very important subject to know, because in the process from Shraddha, we starts with Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav and Prem. In these 9 steps, starting from Shraddha and all the way to attaining Prem, there is one very big, elaborate, like an ocean of anarthas to overcome, attaining the final goal, and that is prema. You know, this is one obstruction. This is one obstacle to overcome by a sadhaka. But a sadhaka feel helpless. A sadhaka feel no strength. Therefore, he prays to his authorities. He prays to those who have strength, that please give me strength. Ekaki amar nahi paye bal harinam sankirtanai. Alone I cannot overcome this. I have no strength to overcome this. So one prays to Gurudev and Vaishnavas, because only they can give us strength to overcome this ocean of anarthas. You know, very important. So we see if we contemplate on the process given by Rup Goswami, Mahaprabhu gave instructions in Chaitanya Charitamrita. ब्रह्मांड भ्रमिते कौन भाग्यवान जीव Guru Krishna prasade पाए bhakti lata beach. After wandering in the universe for infinite lifetimes, one get, or we can say, when the time for a jiva comes to an end for his repeated cycle of birth and death, then he come across a sadhu who gives him bhakti lata beach, the seed of the creeper, which is bhakti. So what Gurudev is giving to us? The seed of that bhakti lata. So that means the seed is not present as a constitutional position of the jivas, because we also hear jive sarupa hai krishner nityadas krishna tatastha shakti bhed abhed prakash. It is in the constitution of the jiva that one is servant of Krishna. That is inherent in the jivas, that they are servant of Krishna. It is inherent. So if jiva already have this seed of being servant of Krishna, then what Gurudev is giving this seed? What Gurudev giving the seed? Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata beach. So we have to try to understand this. Srila Gurudev used to say, and Srila Bharati Goswami Maharaj used to say, the seed of Krishna Dasta, being a servant of Krishna, is already inherent in the jiva. What Gurudev gives is the vasana, means the inclination, means that desire to serve Krishna. This is the seed which Gurudev is implanting. The seed is already there, but he is activating that seed by creating that vasana, the intense desire, the intimate desire to serve Krishna and to understand that I am the servant of Krishna. To understand this, that's why माली हैया करे से बीज आरोपण श्रवण कीर्तन जले करे सिंचन. Shri Gurudev acts like a mali, like a gardener, who plant the seed, and the sadhaka, with the process of shravan and kirtan, hearing and chanting and remembering, nurture that seed, that plant. Like if we plant a seed in our garden, we need sunlight, we need soil, we need water. And this is how the householder take care of their plants. Shri Gurudev, with the desire of Krishna, he planted the seed of bhakti in the heart. And the sadhaka, with the process of hearing and chanting, he nourishes that seed. But not only that, a gardener, this is very common, we can see. A gardener trying to put fence. He tried to put a fence in that field. Why to put fence? Suppose there's a land, and gardener has planted so many seeds of like roses and tulips or whatever, or even vegetables or crops. So he put fencing around that, around the edges. So if he's putting that fencing, and someone can say, oh, he's like eccentric. Why? What is the need of fencing? Fencing is there to protect the garden, the beautiful garden, from animals who can enter in and can eat our flowers and vegetables. The fencing is there to protect from all corners of any animal who can enter in. So that fencing is so important. Srila Gurudev also, he keep that fencing around that garden. What is that fencing? Around that garden, so that any misconceptions, or anything related to not bhakti or not our philosophy can't destroy this beautiful garden which is in the heart, made by our Srila Gurudev. So that fencing is very important. If there is no fencing, the field is open, anyone can just come and just destroy the garden. And in India, we also have a system like in the fields, you see they put some artificial figure, not a person, but just artificial, a statue, a figure on the fields. So the birds, so even the birds can get aware of this, that someone is in the fields and they get scared to enter in the field to eat or destroy the garden. So it's so important to put around fencing in that beautiful garden, that loving garden which has been made. So if any other person, any other gardener can say, oh, he is stupid, he is eccentric, why he putting fencing around, it looks insane, the fencing is not required. But the gardener knows, this is my garden, and I don't want any outsider to come and destroy the beautiful garden I'm making. No birds can come and destroy or eat. So this is just to maintain the healthy environment of that garden. And this is not insanity. This is something which is very important. Gardener knows animal can come any moment and can destroy this. So, but there is only one fear. Everything is going good. But यदि अपराध उठे हाथी माथा, उपाड़े व छिंदे शुके जाय पाता. A beautiful garden is made, but if a mad elephant enters that garden, then there is no hope to maintain that garden. Even fencing won't work, because elephant can even break that fencing and destroy the garden. So यदि अपराध उठे हाथी माथा, what is that? Elephant. What is it relate to? Elephant here means Vaishnav aparad. Everything else is tolerable, but when it comes to Vaishnav aparad, it's intolerable. Just like elephant with his trunk, he just uproot the plant. Similarly, Vaishnav aparad uproot that bhakti, that creeper. But Srila Gurudev, while speaking on this point one time in Mathura, he was explaining, bhakti cannot be destroyed. Krishna said, Kaunteya pratijani name bhakta parnashati. My devotee never perish. My devotee never destroyed. Bhakti cannot be destroyed. So what is that elephant in the garden doing if he uproot the plant? So even though he uproots the plant, but but the roots are so much grounded, elephant don't have access to uproot that the roots, the foundation. So bhakti always remains there. But with Vaishnava Prad, bhakti get little stagnant, can't flow, and it goes for years or even births, unless one repent and do something positive. Just like example of Shri Devanand Pandit in Navdeep Dham, very expert reciter of Srimad Bhagavad Katha. Devanand Pandit was so expert that all scholars from Navdeep Dham used to come and hear Bhagavatam from him. But in the audience, very dear and intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shivas Pandit, he also want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's the nature of sadhu. So he came and sat in that audience and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. While hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, he started feeling ecstasies. He was crying, he's laughing like a mad person, he started rolling on the ground. These are transcendental ecstasies. While he was acting like that, the other people around him thought he's crazy person and is disturbing the audience. So he took Shivas Pandit. They took Shivas Pandit and they offended him by throwing him out from that territory. Devanand Pandit was watching this, and he didn't stop his disciples or his people to doing this. So it was not the offense of the people sitting there, it was offense of Devanand Pandit because he was leading that program. The leader get the offense. He offended Shivas Pandit, which is Vaishnava Pran. So with this offense, practically his whatever Sukritis or Bhakti would have been totally uprooted. So and so that even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became so upset and he got ferocious to hear this. My dear Shivas, who's more dear than my life, got offended by this person? And this person who's speaking Bhagavatam, I want to run there and tear his Bhagavatam. Mahaprabhu became so angry. So some Vaishnava says, actually Mahaprabhu went there and he tear apart Srimad Bhagavatam. And the other version we hear that he was about to run there and with the intent to tear the Bhagavatam, but devotees stopped him. Both versions. But the point is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very upset. Now point here is, Devanand Pandit offended Shivas Pandit, but later on Devanand Pandit served another associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu named Vakreshwar Pandit. And by serving another associate, another Mahabhagavat, the offense of Devanand Pandit got excused. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him because of his unalloyed, unconditional and loving services for another associate, Shiva Krishna Pandit. Mahaprabhu excused his offenses and he became the recipient of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is known as a Vaishnav in the community of Vaishnavas, uh, in the entourage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as being his associate, Sri Devanand Pandit. So the mad elephant, if he enters the garden, he uproot everything, and that's the only risk of the bhakti. Sins and other anarthas can be easily eradicated by chanting, by remembering, by performing devotional activities, by reading scriptures, by performing stutis. Yeah. But Vaishnava aparad is like a mad elephant, which makes bhakti stagnant. And when the person get another opportunity of serving Vaishnavas, then specifically if that person go and ask forgiveness from that particular Vaishnava, then it is forgiven. And Srila Gurudev used to say this, that suppose if you offend someone and later you realize that you offend someone, the best atonement is just to go to that person and ask forgiveness. Humbly, with repentance mood, go and ask forgiveness. That I was in confusion, or I was bewildered, so please forgive my offenses. And Gurudev used to say, you have to forgive if anyone approaches you for forgiveness. You have to forgive this. Because the nature of Vaishnavas, they are soft. And forgiveness is the topmost quality of Vaishnavas. Forgiveness. Srila Gurudev further said, commented on this, saying, if you won't forgive, anyone approaches you for forgiveness, then don't expect forgiveness on your part if you approach any other Vaishnava, or even if you approach Krishna for that. Then don't expect forgiveness, because then Krishna will ask you, you asking forgiveness from me, whereas if somebody approached you for forgiveness, where was your compassion? And you seeking compassion from me, saying Karuna Sindhu. So you must forgive and embrace that person. As we see the example of Amrish Maharaj and Durvasa ji. Durvasa offended Amrish Maharaj while wandering everywhere in Brahma Loka, Shiva Loka. After hearing so much from Shri Krishna, who inspired Durvasa to go and ask forgiveness from Amrish, not from me. And when Durvasa came to Amrish Maharaj and asked forgiveness, Amrish Maharaj embraced Durvasa Rishi and said, no, I would rather ask forgiveness from you, because of me, you have to travel so many places to get protection. It's just because of me. Rather, you should forgive me. So that's the dealing, a beautiful dealing of Vaishnavas. So, Brahmand Brahmite Kaun Bhagyavan Jeev. Shri Gurudev, he planted that seed, but सेके जनपाल करे उपशाखा बाड़ी जाए, स्तब्ध है मूल शाखा बाड़ी ते न पाए. This is practical experience. We see that along with that beautiful main plant, there's also some weeds, unwanted grass or weeds also sprout along with that main plant. And whatever we are supplying or is supplied, sunlight, water, soil, etc., what happens? just few days back, I was in a farm area. I saw they have planted, they have put crops, wheat, barley, vegetables, fruits. The person who's looking after that field, and they're putting fencing around this. That's not insanity. That's not, if anyone say, why you put fencing there? That's to protect the field from, because I asked them, no one comes here and it's so isolated place. What is the need to put fencing around? They said because deer come there and deer eat and destroy our field, crops and oats and barley, etc. The deer comes there and they come in bunches. So the fencing is there to protect from animals, from any misconceptions, from any misunderstandings. So gardener, he have vision for the future, and in this way he feel relaxed that at least animals and birds will not come and destroy or spoil the garden. But then there is another fear comes. It's all the matter of fear. Fear is not weakness. Fear is there to protect our garden. This another fear which a gardener has. सेके जन पाल करे उपशाखा बाड़ी जाए, स्तब्ध होय मूल शाखा बाड़ीते न पाए. That weeds which also develops along with the main plant. So all soil, sunlight and water goes to the weeds, and weeds grow more big than the main plant. What are those weeds? Misunderstandings, misconceptions, and aparadhs, anarthas. So what gardener does? He uproot those weeds to protect the plant, the main plant. Uproot that. You might have seen, especially in India, we see how they uproot those weeds. So the main plant can get all nourishment. In regard to this, Sri Gurudev, he speaks about the pastime of, the story of teaching we get from Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj, he went to forest to perform austerities. Which forest was that? Just an ordinary forest? It was Braj Mandal. And in Braj Mandal, the prominent forest, Madhuban, the place of pastime of Krishna, where the meeting of Radha Krishna takes place, Madhuban. Who was Gurudev of Dhruv Maharaj? Naraji. The mantra he received from Naraji, so high mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mantra is powerful. Gurudev is Jagat Guru, very powerful. Place of the location of sadhan is so powerful, Madhuban. But even then, Dhruv Maharaj, even after this, there was some weeds in the heart. What was that? He's not going to forest to serve Krishna. He was going forest to attain a big throne, more big and high than any of his ancestors had. That's the weed. Srila Gurudev commented on this. If we don't uproot that anartha, what will happen? That's a misconception. Then anarthas will get everything and the main plant gets stagnant. This is called anartha. This is just like a introduction of what I'm going to say. That anarthas are 4 kinds. What are those? Maya mugdasya jivasya gayo anarthas chaturvidha hide dorbalyam chabradho asat trishna tat vibrama. Everyone has these anarthas, but we see that's a human tendency, not Vaishnav tendency. It's not godly tendency, but it's a human tendency that we highlight or we see another anarthas rather than we focus on working out on our anarthas. Oh, you have this, you have this, you do this. And if I go look inside me, I'm full of anarthas. So what is my authority to point out or correct another person anarthas? That's why it's simple saying, mind your own, not business. Mind your own anarthas. You have to work out on your anarthas first. Because you are not appointed. There's one devotee I was speaking to. He was asking some simple questions. And then I told him, Gurudev has not given me authority or appointed me as authority to check on another's anarthas. He told me, and he told all of us, to work out on your own anarthas first. When you get cleared of all anarthas, and when you become an authority, then you have right to correct others. That doesn't mean we don't have to help and support and correct others, but in a more jealousy, envious, or in a negative way. To criticize our own dirty minds. Exactly. We have to criticize our own dirty minds. Mind your own anarthas. Yeah. So anarthas of living entities enchanted by Maya are of four kinds. What is the root cause of these anarthas? Let us go to the root of it. Bhayam dutya vineshita syad epatasya viparja smriti. Bhagavatam explains. Whenever there is dutya vineshita, means second absorption, that is the root cause. That is the root cause of all anarthas, the second absorption. When I say second absorption, that clearly means there is first absorption also, because second comes after first. As eternal servant of Krishna, our prime duty is to only and only serve Krishna, and that is only our first absorption. That is supposed to be our first absorption. But because of the influence of Maya, which we embrace, Maya is not embracing us. We are embracing Maya. Maya is external energy. We are marginal energy. Jiva has more potency, but feel weak, and Maya embrace Jiva and feel more weak. So instead of that first absorption, which is Krishna Dasta, to become servant of Krishna, it comes over the second absorption with the influence of Maya. And what arises because of that? Bhayam dutya vineshita. It starts with fear, and then lamentation, then bewilderment, then out of consequence of that, shok, moh, again lamentation, bewilderment, and fear. This is because of second absorption. With the result of the second absorption, the anarthas, the four kind of anarthas, Sarup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Hide Dorbalyam, and anarthas. Apradhas. These are four categories. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he elaborate on this. So we're going to hear and we can see the mirror, how we look like when we see mirror. So that's our situation. First is Sarup Brahm. That means illusion about one's real identity. That's first. What is my real identity? I already explained this. That we are eternal servant of Krishna. But we forget this relationship. We are not aware of this relationship. Second, Asat Trishna, hankering for that which is temporary nature. Instead of longing and hankering for something which is akshaya, permanent, we are hankering for something which is temporary nature, and because of that temporary nature, which gives a little happiness, but there is always a fear, I will lose this happiness or I will lose that pleasure. That's why one think intelligently and one think far vision, so that to make this permanent and not temporary. Shri Pradhan Saraswati Thakur, he uttered a wonderful verse which actually gives us a hope. We who are afflicted by anarthas, we have no sukritis, no pious deeds, always mind goes indulged in sinful activities. So he uttered a wonderful verse, Dharma sprishtata satata param avishta evat dharne drishnam praptu nahi khalu satam srishtisu papino san yad datte shri hari ras sudha swad matta pratyaya ucche gayanti atha vilutati stomi tam kanchi disham. Wonderful verse. Shri Pradhan Saraswati Thakur, why glorifying Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He's saying, one who is untouched by any piety, who is completely absorbed in irreligion, or who has never received the merciful glance of a devotee, or been to any holy places sanctified by them. So we can very easily relate, sound familiar, right? One who is untouched by any piety, one who has never visited any holy place, one who has never received a merciful glance of a devotee, one who is always absorbed in irreligion, even then, a person ecstatically dance, loudly sing, and even roll on the ground when he becomes intoxicated by tasting the nectar of transcendental mellow of pure love of Krishna. And that's the contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even after all this, always in irreligion, never pious deed, never had a glance of a devotee, etc. Even those people, they're singing, they're dancing and getting ecstasies, rolling on the ground. How come? All credits to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is giving us that strength, not alone, but along with his associates, which are only our hope, which gives us so much strength that there's a hope that we can easily come out from this ocean of anarthas. So first is illusion about one's real identity, Sarup Brahm. Then asat trishna means hankering for that which is temporary. Third is aparad, offenses. And the fourth is weakness of the heart, hide durbalya. These are the four anarthas. It looks like it's four, but this four here means, four anartha here means four oceans to cross. Four oceans to cross. How to cross this ocean? Two very powerful means to cross this ocean. Hari name nauka khani, Shri Guru Kandari, Shri Guru Kandari. Sankirtan kheloya, dubahu pasari, dubahu pasari. के जाबे रे भा भव सिंधु पार. One is Harinam. Hariname Nauka Khani. The only boat is Hari Krishna Mahamantra, Harinam. Another is one who is rowing that boat. And who's that? Shri Guru Kandari, the captain of that boat. That is Shri Guru. Then this ocean, the four oceans of anarthas can be easily crossed. If you are not taking shelter of if you're not taking shelter of one associate of Bhagwan, then it's so difficult to overcome. Ashray loya bhaje, tate Krishna nahi tyaje, aar sab mare akaran. One who has not taken shelter, we just spoil his life or her life uselessly. But one who has taken shelter, the life become very important. Very important. Now, let us hear what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborate on this. Bhajan Rahasya Vritti. The living entities. So, Maya Mugdha Jive Anartha Chatushtaya Asat Trishna Hide Durbalya Vishmaya Aparad Sarupa Vibhram E Chari Yahate Samsara Bandha Vipatti Vistari. Anyone who is interested to hear, not as a lecture, but wants to hear as a book, and one feels they don't have time to read that book, then to facilitate those devotees, I worked very hard to produce this as audiobook in English. I mean to say Shri Bhajan Rahasya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So if you go YouTube, B.V. Siddhanti Maharaj, you will see audiobooks where you can find this book, Shri Bhajan Rahasya, and while at work or while going work or doing household activities, you can hear this book. Then it's easy to memorize or hear this book as like a book form, not like as a lecture. So that's for information of devotees. If you really want to hear this book as a book form. The living entities seized by Maya and derailed from pure dharma wander in this material existence, falsely thinking they are its enjoyers. So that's the situation. Seized by Maya, captured by Maya. Maya here means Trigunatmak Maya. The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. The three modes overlap during day and night. When we get up in the morning, this more good of ignorance. I mean, the mode of goodness is, the mode of goodness is prominent because it's early morning and one started thinking wisely. But after passing that period, then mode of passion. One gets passionate thoughts. And gradually when it comes to evening, late evening, then ignorance. So three modes of nature. This is how Maya has his shackles and bind us. This is called seizure or seized by Maya in three modes of nature. But there is one category above these three modes of nature, that's Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva is beyond three modes of nature. And this is present, or Shuddha Sattvas are those who are pure devotees, or we can say the associates of the Lord. They are beyond three modes of nature. Shuddha Sattva. These pure devotees. But those who are associates of the Lord, they are even they are addressed by another term which is called Vishuddha Sattvas. There is Shuddha Sattva and there is Vishuddha Sattvas. Shuddha Sattvas are those who are pure devotees, and Vishuddha Sattvas are those who are eternal associate of Krishna. No one can become like them. So no one can become Lalita Vishakha. No one can become Yashoda Maya Nand Maharaj. No one can become Sridham Subal Sakhas. But following their footsteps, following the Vishuddha Sattva, one can attain Shuddha Sattvas. Maya has no rights there. She loses all rights there. There is no seizure by Maya there. And there is, so living entities seized by Maya and derailed from pure dharma wander in this material existence, falsely thinking they are its enjoyers. Four anarthas are noticed in these living entities. What are these? Are, we can say, oh, one has COVID and these symptoms are being seen or detected in this disease. So he's saying four anarthas are noticed in these living entities. What are these? Surup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Aparad, and Hide Dorvalya. Surup Brahm means illusion of our real identity. Asat Trishna means hankering over temporary objects. Apradhas are offenses, and Hide Dorvalya is weakness of the heart. The word anartha means to collect that which has no purpose. That's the definition of anartha is giving. To collect that which has no purpose. But we see there is a purpose. But that purpose is not meant for us. Understand? That purpose is not for us. That's why I say to collect that which has no purpose. The jiva's only goal is to serve Krishna. That's what I was referring earlier. Only goal means the first absorption supposed to be the servant of Krishna. But in this material existence, he is engaged in Maya service. Serving Maya, pleasing Maya, make Maya happy, to get happiness in return, to get reciprocation of pleasure in return by serving Maya. Hence, this is an anartha. So that's the root cause of the anartha. He further describing Sarup Brahm. Now, each and every heading. Sarup Brahm. The pure living entity is a tiny transcendental particle, Chid Anu. Tiny, but transcendental particle, part and parcel of Krishna. There is so much potency in the jiva, and that's why it is tiny, Chid, and Anu. Anu means tiny, and Chid means transcendental. Even though it is small, finite, very small, but it's transcendental in nature because it's part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is transcendental, is brihad, is big. But Jiva is part and parcel of Krishna. That's why it's Anu, small, but transcendental. Anu. The pure living entity is a tiny transcendental particle and the eternal servant of Krishna. Just as the conditioned living entity experiences form, taste, smell, touch, and so on through his material senses, the pure living entity experiences transcendental form, taste, and so forth through his transcendental senses. You see, that's the difference between us and pure devotees, our Gurudevs. The enjoyment, the enjoyment always comes with form, taste, smell, and touch. Seeing a form, tasting, smelling, and touching. These are the weapons of Maya. So these are weapons of Maya for us. But pure devotees, they also entangled in form, taste, smell, and touch. They are meditating on transcendental form, and that's Krishna. We are meditating on attractive form, which is another living entity. We want to taste so much, so many things, which has no purpose. Pure devotees, they taste Mahaprasad. Prasad sevite hai sakal prapanch jaye. There is no difference between Prasad and Krishna himself. Smell and touch. So, with their transcendental senses, they also have the same phenomena. Whereas our style is a perverted form of what they have for Krishna, we have for this material world. A perverted form of actually it's supposed to be. Forgetting that I'm an infinite particle of spiritual consciousness and Krishna's servant. The jiva becomes conditioned and wanders about in this material existence. So forgetfulness, that is something very common. Somebody asked, oh, do you remember what you ate 3 days back in the lunchtime? Do you remember? Maybe you may remember. Or let's say 10 days back, what you had breakfast or lunch? I forgot. So that's our inherent in us, forgetfulness. These are small, but forgetting something which is high, and that is, I'm infinite particle of spiritual consciousness, Chid Anu, transcendental but small, spiritual consciousness, and I'm Krishna's servant. Forget this. We forgot this because one accident happened and we lost our memory. We hear this very often. Car crash, damage to brain, lost memory. The relatives and friends comes trying to speak to that person. You remember me? I'm your mom. I'm your father. I'm your brother. Do you remember me? No, I don't remember who you are. Who am I? Where I am? What is this place? You know, because of that accident. The similar kind of accident happened to us, a crash. What is that? When we got this independence to look towards Maya, because we had two options. We could have looked towards spiritual world. We were given a choice because of our independent nature to look towards spiritual world and to look towards material world, Maya world. We found Maya to be more glittering, uh, to more passionate. So we give preference and priority to glance over Maya. And we look towards Maya, and Maya immediately took us. Come, and I want to embrace you. That accident happened. And when this happened, there's no accountability. Infinite lifetimes. There is no accountability which year or which birth, million, billion, trillion. I don't know after that. So the word is infinite. Infinite lifetimes. The origin, because of this accident, lost memory from so many birth and deaths, so many birth and deaths, so many births and deaths, million, billion, trillion, infinite. Lost memory. But a patient who loses memory, in a hospital, doctors, uh, health workers, they try to work out on that person to regain his or her memory. And what they're trying to do is they give some medicines which helps the brain, and then they advise take this person in those places where he was very fond of, take him uh, to his house, to his friends, to revive that memory, you know, seeing those previous scenes, reviving that memory. And uh, same thing is done to us to revive our memory. Injections are given, the injections of Harikatha by our acharyas, the injection of Mahamantra, the injection of mantras. That's the medicine part. And then it's told, take this person to those places to where he belongs to. Take him to Brajmandal. Take him to Gaur Mandal, the places of pastimes of Mahaprabhu, the places of pastimes of Radha Krishna. When he goes around Seva Kunj, Nidhuban, Govardhan, Radha Kunj, Sham Kunj, Madhuban, Belvan, and all this beautiful Brajmandal, places of pastimes, and in Gaur Mandal. So what happens when we go there? Reviving that memory. Oh yes, I belong to Krishna. I belong to this holy place. I'm a spiritual person. This place is sanctified, infused with spiritual energies. I belong to Krishna. I don't belong to Maya. And that's the time comes of struggling. Two minds struggle together with the sadhaka. I can't leave Maya, but I also realize I belong to Krishna. So there's a pulling from both sides. It's a great pulling from both sides. I want to embrace what I want to expect pleasure and happiness. I can't give up. But on the other side, I also realize I belong to Krishna. So it's a dilemma. What to do? Confused, pulling from both sides. This is the stage of uh, sadhaka. This is the situation of sadhaka. So, so much spiritual strength is needed to overcome this anartha, which is called Sarup Brahm. The primary anartha of the living entity is his failure to realize his true Sarupa. And that is, I am the servant and the servant of Krishna. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So we're going to hear day after tomorrow. Tomorrow going to be Hindi class, Hindi session. All those who are interested hearing that Hindi session, you're most welcome. Tomorrow I'm going to announce the examination we had, online examination, and devotees, they answered that. So I requested everyone to come on Zoom, and not blank Zoom. I requested everyone to come on screen so that I can announce their name and who have scored how many marks out of 10. And there's nothing to be shy or feel embarrassed about this, because we are still learning. That's honesty. So it's going to be a nice session. If you all want to join, most welcome to join. And similarly, we're going to have an English exam also. A questionnaire has been formed and going to be posted very soon. And you can answer that online. And one day we're going to have Zoom online announcement of answer sheet session. I'm thankful for devotees who are helping making this questionnaire for us and receiving the answers from the devotees. We are very thankful for their seva and their endeavors. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namah.